back to you and back to the Middle East. Now you're obviously based in Lebanon, but how's the pressure building there? Because obviously Lebanon still has effectively Syria to the north and Israel to the south.
Yeah, to the east and the north for
Yes.
Syria, of course, and Israel to the south. And Israel, in reality, has increased its number of occupation points in southern Lebanon to 7 rather than 5 previously. And it conducts daily, if not sort of morning, afternoon, evening attacks, either by drone or by airstrike on areas of southern Lebanon, but also the eastern and northeastern areas of Lebanon perceived by them to be Hezbollah strongholds. And on Sunday, I wanted to draw attention to this attack, which was a drone attack on civilians in Bint Jbeil in the south. These are the children, Hadi and Celine Sharara, who were killed in the attack, including their father and their sister, and their mother and their other sister are hospitalized in critical condition. And a bystander, Mohammed Marouche, was also killed in the strike. This is the mother, Amani Bazi, here with the 2 children that were murdered by Israel on Sunday in the attack. And this is the mother at the funeral of the 2 children. She was brought actually in her hospital bed to bid farewell to the children that were slaughtered by Israel indiscriminately. And this is happening on a daily basis. But interestingly, there was an interview with Thomas Barrack, who I've said is Trump's basically his main man in the Middle East, trying to push through the normalization between Syria and Israel, and in Lebanon to dismantle and destroy the resistance against Israel. What was extraordinary for me about this interview, and that's why I've included a number of clips, is that he was incredibly frank and honest, whether he felt disarmed by the interviewer, who I think was extremely good. But let's just hear how he first of all describes himself.
If you look at diplomacy, and all of them are much better than me, because I'm not really a diplomat, right? I'm like an event-driven mercenary to get things done for this president.
Well, I couldn't really say it better myself. I mean, he's an economic hitman. He has links to corruption in the first Trump administration, links to Epstein, and so on and so forth. So he's certainly not a trustworthy individual. But let's hear what he says about the end game in the region, Trump's end game in the region.
Through what exactly is the Trump doctrine in the Middle East?
So President Trump brilliantly said, look, I'm not going to lose any more American lives. We've been there. I'm not going to take over any more countries and try and teach them the colonial method. It never worked. So we'll worry about counterterrorism. We'll cooperate with our neighbors, and that's it. And that's basically what he's done. Israel, a different story. Israel is a valued ally. We subsidize them $4 or $5 billion a year. It has a special place in America's heart. And we're living with the confusion of what's happening in this transition. So it's complicated. It's a really difficult zip code.
What's the end game?
I was hoping you weren't going to ask that, because I don't know. I don't think anybody knows.
Of course, that's absolute nonsense. They know exactly what the end game is, and actually he goes on to describe it. But what I find interesting in this particular response from him, he talks about the reason why the Zionist bloc policy has not been successful to basically bring Arab peoples under their control. So let's have a listen to this.
I don't think anybody knows. Look, the end game, when we say peace, it's an illusion. There's never been peace. There will probably never be peace, because everybody's fighting for legitimacy. So people say, well, they're fighting over borders and boundaries. It's not what they're fighting over. A border or boundary is the currency of a negotiation. The end result is somebody wants dominance, which means somebody has to submit. In that part of the world, submit, there's no Arabic word for submit. They can't wrap their head around submit. So eventually, prosperity is the only answer.
So he's very clearly saying there that submission is not an option from the Arab resistance. And someone pointed out to me that the word Islam means submission to the word of God for Muslims. But of course, the Middle East is not only made up of Muslims, there's Christians, there's all manner of minorities and minority faiths in the Middle East, in Lebanon, Syria, and Iraq, and so on. But what for me is this arrogance that, damn it, the Arabs won't submit to doing what we want. But he then brings in the idea of prosperity, which is effectively, well, if we can't get them to submit through what we're doing, for example, in Palestine, then we'll incentivize them with prosperity, which is, of course, exactly what they've done with the Arab Gulf states. So then he goes on to talk about the role of Hezbollah. And again, this is very interesting. He actually admits that the American policy or the Israeli policy in Lebanon is effectively increasing the popularity of Hezbollah. So let's have a look at this.
So until Hezbollah, which is 70,000 troops, we don't recognize it. Hezbollah is a foreign terrorist organization in American parlance. I get in trouble every time we go into this discussion because in Lebanon it's not, right? In Lebanon it's a political party. It has 27 parliamentary seats out of 166 or so in parliament. But Hezbollah is an armed militia separate from the Lebanese armed forces, bigger than the Lebanese armed forces. Lebanese armed forces has been a stable influence.
And what incentive do they have to put their weapons down?
Zero. Zero. I mean, this is the problem, especially when Israel is attacking everybody. So if Israel is attacking Syria, Israel is attacking Lebanon, Israel is attacking Tunisia. As it goes on, their argument gets better and better, is we're here to protect the Lebanese from Israel.
Now, we'll talk more about this in extra, but what's very interesting there is that he appears to admit that Israel did conduct the attack against the Samud flotilla heading to Gaza in Tunisia. And the last two clips, first of all, he's talking about the Lebanese armed forces, which he calls LAF, L-A-F. So let's just see what he says about them.
So LAF being mostly Sunnis, there are Shias, and it's a good organization. It's well-meaning, but it's not well-equipped. Because who are they going to fight, right? We don't want to arm them. We're going to arm them so they can fight Israel? I don't think so. So you're arming them so they can fight their own people, the Hezbollah. Hezbollah is our enemy. Iran is our enemy. We need to cut the heads off of those snakes and chop the flow of funds. That's the only way you're going to stop Hezbollah.
So this is quite extraordinary. He's actually admitting that America is keeping the Lebanese armed forces at a level where they can't defend the country against Israel, but they can be used to turn against their own people, i.e. the resistance. And then the final comment that not the final comment, I recommend everybody watches the whole interview, but this comment he makes about if you don't come into line in Lebanon, what he will do. So let's just play this.
And I don't mean this in a disrespectful way, because all they do is talk. There's never been one act. We told them, do you want our help? We'll give you our help. We gave them a playbook. They can't get there.
They can't execute.
No, absolutely not. So we say, fine, we're not going to execute. You know who's going to execute? Walk across that border. Do you see where Jerusalem is? Jerusalem is going to take care of the Hezbollah for you.
So, and that's what's happening right now.
Absolutely.
So that's very clear. Lebanon won't come into line with the US playbook. So now Israel is being triggered to carry out the US's or Washington's dirty work by attacking the resistance and the civilians in the south to bring Lebanon in line with the US playbook.
Yes, indeed. Thank you, Vanessa. We will talk more about this in